Good evening, Cohasset. Alongside my colleague Matt McCormick, I'm Anthony Nahill, and welcome to the inaugural edition of CSPN, your news source for Cohasset Athletics.
Tonight will be the first installment of our two-part fall flashback. We'll take a look at the season in review at CHS.
We'll start with the rundown.
First, we'll dive into the Thanksgiving festivities at CHS. The events kicked off on Wednesday with the annual Powder Puff game and concluded on Thursday, where spectators were able to feast their eyes on a victory by the Cohasset football team over their crosstown rival, the Hull Pirates.
The show continued during halftime with the inauguration of the 2012 Hall of Fame class at CHS, and the members were honored at midfield at alumni.
We also will take a look into the seasons of the CHS cross-country team and the lady skippers of the field hockey team. The Wednesday before Thanksgiving marks the annual Powder Puff game at CHS between the junior and senior girls. This year, the seniors took home a gritty 16-6 victory over their underclassmen rivals.
We'll now take a quick look at the action.
Here we see junior quarterback Molly Fitzgerald, who gets the snap and hands off to Michaela Durkin, who's got reservations for 6, weaving her way to a 20-yard touchdown.
And that's Melinda Dignam who gets the carry as she slips into the secondary and truck sticks the defender, scampering down to the 15-yard line.
And here we got senior quarterback Kate Sukiasian with the give to halfback Hope Kissick on the outside. Kissick shows some nifty moves before finally being flagged down around the 5-yard line. This run helped to seal the victory for the seniors.
And that victory makes it 2 straight for the class of 2013.
From flag football to tackle football, we'll now dive into the Cohasset football team's 54-37 victory over arch rival Hull in the Thanksgiving game. It was a shootout from start to finish, but the high-octane Skippers offense was able to propel the team to victory.
Athletic Director Ron Ford awards the team the Turkey Day Trophy, giving it to seniors and team captains Jake Hurth, Craig Davis, and Shane Haggerty.
And here we see the 11 seniors on the team celebrating for their final time on Alumni Field. Quite a sight, folks.
And now we're going to rewind to some gameplay. Here it's 1st and goal for the Skippers, and the pitch goes to Tim Gillis, who finds his way into the end zone. On the day, Gillis had 23 carries for 118 yards and 2 total touchdowns, surpassing the 1,000-yard mark for the season. A truly great accomplishment for the sophomore.
And now we'll transition to the Skipper passing game, as we see Chris Little Hags Haggerty dropping back and throwing an absolute bomb to receiver Rocco Legel, who makes quite the acrobatic catch in the corner of the end zone. And here we have another look for you guys. As you can see, Haggerty slinging a gem to Legel, who makes a fantastic catch. Legel on the day had 2 catches for 64 yards and that touchdown.
Here's Cohasset on the goal line, and on the play action, Haggerty finds senior tight end Connor Dooley wide open in the end zone. On the day, Haggerty was a very efficient 10 for 12 for 186 yards and 4 touchdowns.
And here we have the other Gillis, junior fullback Ryan Gillis, who gets the give from Chris Haggerty and hits the R1 button for a speed burst, scampering all the way into the touchdown. On the day, Gillis had 7 carries for 142 yards, an amazing 20.3 yards per attempt, and he also punched in 3 rushing touchdowns. I'd love to have him on my fantasy team for that one, Anthony.
Absolutely. And now we have some Skippers defense. It's senior captain Craig Davis laying the lumber on his Hull running back, Sonny Hill.
Quite a hit by Davis. And we got some more defense for the Skippers. On a Hull pass, Shane Haggerty says, "I'll take that," for one of his 2 interceptions on the day. Other notable statistics for the Skippers defense include a team-leading 12 tackles by junior linebacker Jack McGelding.
That emphatic victory capped off a 6-5 season for the Skippers. It was up and down overall, but they were led the entire way by their 11 seniors.
I was lucky enough to catch up with head coach Pete Afanasiv, who reflected positively on the season in review.
Thanks. I'm here with Coach A of the football team, and first of all, I just want to congratulate you on your Thanksgiving Day victory. And, my first question for you is, what does it mean for your 11 seniors to be able to go out in that manner?
First of all, thank you. It was a great season, and seriously, as the coach of the team, watching 11 seniors play their last football game on Alumni Field and be able to walk off into the crowd, into their families, into their friends, knowing that they left it all out on the field and they were able to successfully, as you said, trounce the Hull Pirates is really quite a capping to the season, because it was a little bit of an up and down season, and seeing those kids create a phenomenal memory on a beautiful day really kind of is what coaching is all about.
Absolutely. You mentioned the up and down season. What would you say was your signature win in this season, maybe other than the trouncing of Hull?
Well, if I had to go back, I'd say probably the shutout we had down at Sandwich. It was a non-league game. We came back. At that time, I think we only had two wins against 4 losses, and our defense really kind of clamped down that day. I know Tommy Ryan put a kid in the hospital with literally breaking a kid's ribs with a very clean but very hard hit. And that kind of set the stage. From that moment on, the defense found an identity,
Right.
and I think we won 4 out of the last 5 games. And that really set the stage. With the exception of the points we gave up against Mashpee, we were very, very competitive defensively, and I think that was probably the game that turned the tides.
All right, thank you. You mentioned Tommy Ryan. Are there any other players, maybe that deserve recognition as like the main X factors on your team?
Well, going into the season, we kind of knew what we had. We knew Shane Haggerty was going to be a very, very dangerous threat on the outside, along with Rocco Rigel. And we knew we had a couple of backs that were, with the 2 Gillis brothers, that were able to run well, run hard with good moves. Really, the defensive identity was something that we were searching for early in the season. With so many kids lost to graduation last year, it was who was going to step up. Tommy was one of those kids. Jack McElgan came on very strongly as the year wore on. Danny Tangerlini and Drew Nahill really solidified that core, as well as some other factors. Brett Dooley and Will Butenshane were able to really. Those kids had experience from the previous year, and they stuck with it. And both offensively, defensively, and special teams wise, kids never showed any kind of give up or let up. They, no matter if we were up 20 points or down 20 points, they just really were a great group of kids to coach and be on the field with.
That's great stuff. And now, Coach, we understand that the South Shore League this year was particularly strong. Do you want to comment on how that affected your season, maybe how it could have changed?
Well, the rotation, every year the rotation of the league schedule had changed, and we normally, over the last several years that I've been here, we played Abington the last week of the regular season before Thanksgiving, and this year they rotated up to the top of the game. So we opened up the league play against Abington, which we thought was going to be advantageous for us because just like us, any good team gets better as the season goes on. You probably want to catch them early. We played them, we lost 20-10, and we played in a torrential rainstorm. And it negated a lot of the things that we were able to do, but that set the stage for the rest of the season. We bounced back and we took care of Carver, and then we got into a dogfight with EB, and we took care of it. It was kind of a back and forth type of a year in the league, and that's it's very difficult to go undefeated in the South Shore League. There's so many teams between us, Mashpee, Abington, EB, Rockland, that are so competitive with each other. It's a tribute to a team that ends up with a winning record. This is the 5th year in a row that we've had a winning record in the South Shore League, and 6th year overall. So these kids, again, the seniors walking off the field at 6 and 5, they've never had a losing season.
And no, we've heard rumors that the structure and format of the league might be changing next year. Can you comment on that at all?
There is no rumor about that. There is a whole new playoff format that's going to be initiating next year. It's going to be, the integrity of leagues are the same, so there still will be a South Shore League, but the manner in which the schedule is laid out has completely changed. We will actually, if you can imagine the schedule in an 11-week schedule, with Thanksgiving being the 11th week, there will be weeks 1 through 7 will actually be league games, and weeks 8, 9, and 10 are going to be playoff rounds. So you're going to have 3 rounds of playoffs prior to Thanksgiving, and then the Super Bowl being the second Saturday after Thanksgiving. And what that basically means is that in some cases, like with us at Hull, we will be playing Hull in weeks 1 through 7, but then we'll also be playing them again on Thanksgiving. And if both teams qualify for the playoffs, we could see them in weeks 8, 9, or 10. So there's a possibility we could play a team like Hull 3 times.
Wow.
Now it's rare, but there's at least a definite 2 games versus Hull, which kind of is controversial with the guard. That was one of the hang-ups from the coaches and ADs over whether or not we should vote in favor of this, is does that tarnish Thanksgiving and the rivalry and so forth. But the fact that more teams are able to participate in playoff games, even though they come before Thanksgiving, was, I think, a stronger factor than the potential negative side effect on affecting Thanksgiving.
Definitely. Now, you've spoken about your varsity team, and now we're going to look towards the younger aspect of your team. Like, what performance and, what did you, how did you feel about the performance from the JV and freshman teams this season?
Honestly, from the first year freshman player to the senior captain, this group has been like a no other that I've had in my years here. I don't have the records off the top of my head for both the freshman and the JV squads, but I know I saw them play on a number of occasions, and there's a good amount of talent coming up the pike. There's a lot of juniors. I think the junior class is the biggest class. I think there's 22 or 23 juniors, followed up by another 18 or 19 sophomores, and the freshmen had 17 or 18 kids. So numbers-wise, we're in really good shape, and talent-wise, we are. You know, the great thing about football, I think, unlike a hockey or a lacrosse or a skill-based sport, by freshman year, if you don't have that skill set in those other sports, you're probably finding another sport to participate in. But with football and another growth spurt, you know, a freshman that weighs 112 pounds and is 5'11", next time he's 6'2", 180, is a whole different football player. So that's something that we just kind of go year by year with. Who's been in the weight room, who's going to continue to work out, who's playing other sports, staying in shape. And we'll kind of reassess come August when we get into the pads again and see what we have. But I know that there's a very strong talent depth, a depth of talent, I should say, at the younger levels.
Right. You know, on that same lines, like, what do you expect for the success of the varsity team next season with this new talent, influx of talent?
Well, as I think you had mentioned earlier, Matt, the team is relatively young. We only had 11 seniors to start, of which I think half had actually started games last year as juniors. So that meant this year we had a lot of sophomores and juniors earning some valuable playing time, and we were still able to be successful. I would have liked to have won a few more games for the seniors, but you know, that type of stuff can't go. You can't change that. However, with that depth, you know, our entire offensive backfield is back. We're going to be getting 2 out of our starting 5 linemen back on the offensive line, and on the other side of the ball, we've got, I think, 7 out of the starting 11 returning. So we've got almost, with the exception of Shane and Christian Davis, we've got our entire receiving core back, led by Rocco Legel. So skill position-wise is a huge strength, and basically building up an offensive and a defensive line is going to be the task of the off-season and in the preseason.
All right, thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
For 143 TV, I'm Matthew McCormick. Back to the studio.
Next on tap is the cross-country squad, who teamed up with Hull to run to a 1-6 record this season.
We caught up with team captains Harry Hellbach and Emily Robbins, who shared their thoughts on the season in our Quick Questions segment with field reporter Reed Westcott.
Thanks, guys. I'm here with Harry Hellbach of the cross-country team. Harry, my quick question for you is, what's it like to co-captain a split team with Hull, given that our towns have rivalries in so many other sports?
Well, I had that same question back when I was a freshman in 2010. I thought it was really strange that we combined with a school that in sports like football, soccer, or basketball, or all the other sports that we play, they're our main rivals, and we always talk trash about them in school and are always saying, oh, we got to beat Hull, like border wars. But I realized that they're really cool guys, and when we worked together, it was a lot of fun. And also, when the program started back in 2008, Hull already had a running program, and we joined them then, and they had a lot more talent than us. And we've been working together, and they've been very supportive on helping us build our talent, and it's been really good for these past few years for us.
All right. Thank you very much, Harry. Good luck with next year's season.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have cross-country co-captain Emily Robbins. Emily, my question for you, could you describe for us how an average practice would go down?
We meet at Wheelwright at 3. We usually stretch before, do a 3 to 4 mile run. Sometimes we do a track workout, which is fun.
Alrighty, and how do your meets go?
We usually are waiting for the other team, or the other team is waiting for us. And then we walk through their course, or our course, and then the boys have a 2-minute head start, and then we start.
Alrighty. Thank you, Emily. Good luck next season. For 143 TV, I'm Reed Westcott. Back to you guys in the studio.
It truly was a great season for the running skippers. Now, Anthony, I forgot my watch. Do you know what time it is?
I believe it's trivia time.
That's right. When the clock strikes trivia, you know it's time for our Trivia Question of the Night, brought to you by 143 TV.
Tonight's trivia question is, what was the first documented Thanksgiving Day game played between Hull and Cohasset?
If you chose C, 1967, congratulations!
You're wrong.
The correct answer is actually B, 1985, when the Skippers defeated the Pirates 12-0.
We'll wrap up tonight with a quick look at the field hockey team under the direction of Miss Laura Giuliano. The team finished at an impressive 11-3-5 in the regular season and unfortunately fell to Apponequet in the second round of the Division II state tournament.
Our field reporter, Reed Westcott, was lucky enough to sit down with Coach Laura Giuliano for a few moments. What do you have for us, Reed?
Thanks, guys. I'm here with the girls field hockey coach, Ms. G. Thank you for being with us. My first question for you, in your opinion, is there a player on your team who deserves the recognition of MVP?
Yeah, Mackenzie Axelson would be who I would consider the MVP of this season. She played the center midfield, drove or directed the team through every game, played every minute of every game. She's a tremendous athlete.
Mm-hmm. All right. Were there any players who you felt were maybe not as well recognized, but deserve kind of an unsung hero status on your team?
Yeah, I have a few comments on that. One would be Sarah Campidelli, who has played as a forward all of her high school career until this year, when I really needed somebody in the midfield who has her skill and her ability to play at a certain level. And she stepped up to that and had a tremendous result, and is part of the reason we went as far as we did this season. I would recognize Whitney Malone in particular for her leadership skills, her willingness to help others all the time. She has tremendous skill as a field hockey player, and she was always willing to share and help other people develop. And then finally, I know this is like one unsung hero, but I really think that the people who don't get to play all the time in games, but come to practice all the time and give 100% during practice, are really essential to the team. We can't practice without them, and they still keep coming, and they enjoy it, and they're great athletes and great young women.
Excellent. All right, so how do you think it behooved your team to have 5 captains, and what kind of leadership skills did they show on and off the field?
Yeah, we've had 5 captains before. I think I've had 3 one time. But it really goes to who we have coming up and the recognition I think that they deserve. Some of them are people who play all the time. Some of them are people who are not playing all the time. And a parent taught me a few seasons ago that one of my best captains was somebody who was a bench player, if you will. In fact, when I would say, do you want to go in? She would say, no, I'm fine with being here. That individual, and it's happened over again, is that they sort of bring the bench into the team. The people who aren't necessarily getting to play get to have some leadership there. The other thing that I did this year was that I want to start a culture of having a junior captain, at least, maybe someday having a sophomore captain, because my experience was that we were losing the captains. They were seniors, we were losing them, and then we were starting with a blank slate again for the next year in terms of leadership. And so I'm trying to develop some continuity by having a junior captain who would then return as a senior captain.
Okay. All right, so did you pursue any recourse for the call that happened during the playoff game?
I did. We made a formal complaint of the call. As I said, I have film, so I sent the film. And at this point, there's nothing that can be done about it. The game gets played, and it's sort of sealed in stone, or it is sealed in stone, and the tournament moves on. They can't stop tournament for these things, but I think it's important that the league knows the kind of officiating that's happening, and that officials that are making mistakes like this, get corrected so that it doesn't happen again to other teams. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it goes in sports.
So after a great season, how do you feel about your prospects for next year with the same squad?
Well,
or as much of the squad as you have.
I've had this discussion before. Is that it's not the same squad, and every once in a while the paper decided to rank us this year, and I'm like, well, yeah, except it's not the same team. Every year it's a different squad, and so every season is unique, every team is unique, and so we work really hard to have a good foundation in terms of what our culture is, what we want for our season, how we develop the girls as they come along. But our future really is in the 6th grade, if you can imagine that. And we are, the high school is really the benefactors of the great program that's run in the middle school by Mrs. Gilman. And so she's always developing talent. They start in the 6th grade as they come through, and it's my job and Heather Hawes' job as the assistant coach to continue the development of those players through high school. I see it as great. I think that given what we have coming up, what we have in terms of the squad that's currently there and who have experience at the high school, as well as what we intend and want to do, I think we're going to have great seasons, many great seasons to come.
All right. That's good. Thank you very much for joining us. Congrats on the nice
you.
season. Good luck
Thank
in
you so
future
much.
seasons. Thank you very much for watching. For 143 TV, I'm Reed Westcott. Back to you in the studio.
That's all we got for tonight, folks, but stay right where you are and tune into the second installment of our Fall Flashback, which is going to cover the CHS boys and girls soccer teams, the golf team, and the CHS cheerleading squad. And also be sure to like our CSPN page on Facebook.
We'd like to give a quick shout out to our technical crew in the studio, as we couldn't have done it without them. For my colleague Anthony Nahil, I'm Matthew McCormick. Keep it classy, Cohasset.